Happy Tuesday. Thank y'all for being here with me. Glory gang, Glory family. Still haven't landed on exactly who are we? Who are we together? Look, y'all see the title. You guys know what we're talking about today. Um, when we think about who's actually telling us, who's actually deciding, when people say the art market is up or the art market is down, okay? Who is actually making those decisions? Collectively, we can all just look at the art market and say, okay, I see patterns happening here. I see patterns happening there. But when we take a look at the survey of global collecting, we're talking about collecting. If we look at the survey of global collecting year after year, who is actually doing the thinking around that? And that's something I want to talk about today as we talk about the state of the art market. Because this Thursday coming up, UBS, the Art Basel and UBS will be dropping their annual survey of global collecting. And this year it'll be for 2026. The numbers that they have within this survey typically guide how we think economically about the art world and about how collectors are engaging with galleries, how collectors are engaging with artists. If you ever wonder, why do I put so much weight on the collector? Why do I put so much weight on the gallery? Because that's where the economics lie, right? Of course, we wouldn't have this industry. We wouldn't have anything without the artists. And not but there is an entire ecosystem that exists right along with the artists that have created what the economics look like. Those are the art fairs, those are the galleries, those are the collectors. And without the collectors, the galleries don't really exist. Without the collectors, the fairs don't really exist, right? So when we take a look at a report like this, we're looking at the health of the collector, and we're also looking at the habits of the collector, the choices that the collector is making. So there's so much research being done around what is the collector doing? How is the collector behaving? What is the current day collector behavior? And that typically creates a shift or a way of thinking in how galleries show up, and typically how galleries show up, right? And how fairs show up, because I find that artists aren't really reading these reports. Artists aren't really digging into what's actually happening with the numbers. So who's producing the research that the entire art world starts to quote? Because we'll see, and follow me here, because after this week, next week, on Thursday, Friday, the weekend, next week, we're going to see all of the publications, including what we do here, talk about what numbers are making sense around the art world. You're going to see a lot of percentages, a lot of numbers as soon as this report drops. So we're going to take a look at this, because every year this one document kind of becomes the reference point for the global art market, not just America, the global art market, the Art Basel and the UBS global art market report. And the reason I wanted to go live today is because, again, the 2026 report is going to drop this Thursday. And before that happens, we got to understand something really important, where we are coming from. And I think it's really important for us, before we go and start reading 2026, before we talk about 2026, we need a refresher on 2025 and what this report said and what the numbers were and how collectors were behaving in 2025, because those numbers alone on Thursday are not going to tell the full story. We have to be able to look at least 2 years together to actually understand the people, the institutions, the economic forces that are really just shaping those numbers. So we're going to break 3 things down. Who the thinkers are. Today we're going to break 3 things down anyway. Who the thinkers are behind this report. You guys know that we like to look at the nuances of the art world. We like to look at not just what's going on in the art world, but also who are the people making the decisions? Who are the people thinking? Who are the people guiding our thoughts? Who are the people telling us what to think? So today we're going to look at who the thinkers behind this report actually are. We're going to look at what the 2025 report actually tells us about collectors and the art market, and what artists, collectors, and dealers should take away from it. And by the end of this live, hopefully you're going to understand the art market at a much deeper level. Now, this is something I've already done. If you watched the video that when we talked about the 2025 Global Collecting Report, we've already talked about this. But again, the next one is coming out on Thursday, so I think it's time for us to have a really good refresher. If you guys are here in the chat, if you enjoy conversations like this, if you have been enjoying these live, go ahead, please click the like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Check and see if you subscribe. Sometimes we not even subscribe to the things that keep popping up on our YouTube home. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys press the like button, because that like button pretty much tells the algorithm that we're interested in conversations like this. When you press that like button, it is a signal to other artists, other collectors, other people in this ecosystem to come into this community and listen to conversations like this and be a part of conversations like this. So y'all get ready, comment in the chat. Let me know what questions y'all have in the chat, and I'm going to take a look at the chat periodically every now and then, and we'll be talking about these numbers and what these numbers mean for artists, galleries, collectors, etc. Again, when you like and comment, when you like and you engage in the chat, it tells the algorithm that conversations like this matter. And that helps in how much I'm able to show up here and how much we're able to engage in conversations like this. So let's go ahead and tune into the actual report. So we're taking a look at the survey of the Global Collecting Report by Art Economics from 2025. That's what we're taking a look at today. So I want to start with the most important person behind this entire report. Okay, so if we start scrolling through, we're going to start seeing names. And the reason I like to do things like look at the names, see who are the people that are actually thinking about this, is because if we start digging into those people, we start understanding their background, we start understanding who their perspective, how their perspective is built, what other industries have they worked in. We get a better understanding of how they are shaping the way that we are thinking. It's so many times I have looked at this report and I have talked to you guys about this report without taking a look at who is actually telling me to think the way that I'm thinking, who is actually telling me to think about the numbers that they're putting in my face, you know, and I think it's really important for us to kind of ground ourselves in that. So I'm gonna highlight her name, Dr. Claire McAndrews. Okay, she is a cultural economist or economist, however you want to say it, and the founder of Art Economics. And what makes her really important is that she studies something that very few economists are studying. She studies the art market and the art market economy, the economics of the art market. That's very, very rare. There are not many people out there that are actually a student of the economics of the art world. She's one of them, Dr. Claire McAndrew. Okay. Now, the art market is notoriously difficult to measure. You guys, y'all should know that, right? Like, first of all, it's an unregulated market. Let's start there. We all know that. It's an unregulated market. Now, do I think it will ever be regulated? I don't think so. I think there's too many loopholes, too many tax loopholes, too many different ways to, I don't want to say hide your money, but place your money in specific places so it won't get accounted for, or, you know, there's too many reasons to keep this market unregulated. So no, I don't think it'll ever be regulated. Now, the art market, again, is difficult to measure. Most of the sales are private. So these numbers are not even reflecting what's happening on the private sector of it all. There's so much that we won't even know what's going on the private sector of it all because it's literally private. Everything in this market does not have to be reported. It's unregulated. It is probably one of 3 unregulated markets in the world. So we'll never have a clear understanding of what's actually happening within this market as far as like sales and numbers. We're never going to have a complete picture All this can do is give us a snapshot. All this can do is take the numbers that are public and tell us what's actually going on. Again, if you're just joining, we're talking about the 2025 survey of global collecting, because the new one, the 2026 one, is going to come out on Thursdays. So a lot of prices are so many prices are undisclosed. And we know that in this market, privacy, discretion, and relationships drive a ton of transactions, and not just on the higher end. Relationships, privacy, and discretion also drive a lot of transactions with early emerging galleries. Okay. So there is very little transparency in every sector of this market. So again, research is hard. Data in this industry is hard. We talked a little bit about why tech people aren't getting us. A collector actually sent me this, a collector who's also just been a great advocate. We've become pretty good friends over the course of a few years. He sent me a reel on Instagram, and that Instagram talked about why there's so much money, or has been over the last few years, so much money in tech. Why aren't tech people getting into art? It's because of the lack of data. They can't deal with the fact that there's no number supporting what people are putting in front of them. There are very little numbers being supporting why the art is this much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So researchers have to collect data from auction houses, from galleries, from collectors, from wealth reports, from trade data, and from just really hoping people are telling them the truth in some instances. Now, over time, Claire McAndrew, her research has become one of the primary sources used globally to understand the art market. Okay, again, Claire Andrews is the founder of Arts Economics. She's one of the only economists in the world who's focusing on the art market. She is incredibly important in our understanding of what's her alone and her company shape how we think about economics in the art world. This one woman and her company, she is the author of the Art Basel and UBS reports, which have become the standard reference for this entire field. Every publication will quote her findings. Every publication in the next few days will quote her research. And every gallery, collector, et cetera, will lean into it, probably never realizing who Claire McAndrew is. And so you guys know now. You guys know who Claire McAndrew is. You guys know now who's shaping our thinking. Yeah, I have a comment that says right now, art is how the wealthy launder. I mean, I think that's, what I've learned over time is that is a very, that's a way to think of a lot of things, right? And I think that is a really base level way of approaching how we think wealthy people involve themselves with art. What I've learned is it goes far, far, far deeper than saying this is how wealthy people are laundering their money. It is an unregulated market. So yes, there probably are, and I won't even say probably, there definitely are ways in which you can clean your money with art. That's illegal, but the art market is unregulated. So a lot of things within the art market is actually legal because of the unregulation. So we can get into that. Yeah. That's not what this entire thing is about. Anyway, so when people say the art market is worth this amount of $1 billion, I even want to put that into reference for you guys. Like if you look at the entertainment business, if you look at like the music industry, you look at the film industry, and then you look at the art market, like the art market is worth billions, but significantly less than like the tech industry, significantly less than the medical industry, of course, significantly less, though billions, not billions in comparison to other industries. So it's a fairly small market, to be honest. Anyway, when they say that, they are usually quoting her work, Claire McAndrews. So I want to think about who else is shaping the way that we're thinking. So the report is a collaboration between two institutions, okay? The report is a collaboration between Dr. Claire McAndrews, who has arts economics, and it's also a collaboration between two different institutions, which is Art Basel and UBS. Okay, so let's put those two into perspective. Okay, so Noah Horowitz is the CEO of Art Basel. He's been the CEO of Art Basel, I believe, since 2022. Art Basel operates some of the most influential art fairs in the world. We know that, right? We have Art Basel Miami. We have Art Basel Switzerland. We have Art Basel Hong Kong. We have Art Basel Paris. Those fairs they're not typical art fairs, okay? They are what we could call them. We could say that Art Basel are engines, right? Like Art Basel, they fuel the market because there's so many different fairs around the entire world. All right, so and then we look at, let me go down. Let's get past the actual, again, we see her name. She gave her acknowledgments, Dr. Claire McAndrew. When we look at the forward by Art Basel, that's when we see his name. That's what prompted me to say, who is Noah Horowitz, right? And so when we look at this forward of the report, it emphasizes that collecting is reflecting identity, it reflects values, it reflects cultural legacy. So it is important for us to look at the idea of economics in congruence with identity, in congruence with the values of collectors, in congruence of cultural legacy. And so I was, when we have this argument about identity being monetized, values being monetized, and cultural legacy being monetized, this is a really good example of the monetization of those things. Because what collecting is reflecting not just what people like, not just their taste, but their identity. They are collecting artworks that they identify themselves with, that their values are in alignment with, and that their cultural legacy is in alignment with. So economics is tied. I was about to go into some politics, war stuff, and I just had to catch myself so I don't do that. But I mean, we can, right? But if we think about even just many different things like cultural legacy, culture equals money all the time. And this is a really, really, really good example of that. Now, when we talk about UBS is one of the largest wealth management firms in the world. Your richest, wealthiest, high net worth folks are going to UBS, which means they work with the ultra wealthy collectors who are driving the art market, okay? UBS, they're working with the richest collectors, the most wealthy collectors who are driving the art market. Now, who is over UBS? Y'all see this? You see where I'm going with this? We have UBS, we had above Art Basel, and we had our acknowledgments from Clara McAndrews, the three people who are telling us how to think. The two institutions and the one person. We have Crystal Novakovic, if I'm saying her name correctly, right? So Crystal Novakovic is what? She's the head of the UBS Global Wealth Management. And she also plays a really key role in the thinking around wealth and collecting. UBS is interested in art because art sits at the intersection of wealth and legacy and philanthropy and culture. So UBS has a really, really big interest in art collecting, which is why they are the bank that is partnered with that's partnered with Art Basel, that is partnered with Art Economics, who is Clara McAndrews. And one of the biggest forces shaping collecting, I would say, like right now, is something that when I first started this channel, if you go back 100 videos ago, I started telling you guys, hey, we're about to have a wealth transfer. This is 5 years ago. I'm talking about a wealth transfer happening. And they are really interested because we're in the middle of a great wealth transfer. Over $83 trillion. Over $83 trillion is what I read. I don't know. That's somebody else telling me what to think, and they're collecting their own numbers. But I read over $83 trillion will pass between generations in the coming decades. Okay. that wealth shift will happen dramatically. And it's one of the reasons why, because it's a wealth shift, right? And it's a wealth transfer. That means the parents, the grandparents passing it down to the kids, right? And those kids, the kids of those grandparents, of those parents right now, they're going to have a different way of thinking, which is why we talk so heavily about collector development here. Because if a gallery is not developing their collectors, if an artist is running their own studio and they're not developing collectors as far as education, right? Like, I'm going to be a stickler about education. And I didn't realize before all of this how important education is, but it's so important as an artist, as a gallery, as a dealer, as an auction house, to invest in education so that you are developing a collector. And that's why we're seeing so many of these galleries close, because they did not invest in, my opinion, they were not investing in collector education. And when you have a great wealth transfer and you have someone passing all of their wealth down to grandkids and kids, et cetera, and you want to make sure that those people are also interested in culture and legacy and collecting, then you have to be interested in educating them about the art market, about the art world. You have to be, and also they're not going to think like their grandparents. They're not going to think like their parents. It's a new age, a new world. Technology is different. Their access to everything is different. And the way that they want to engage with art is different. And so when we look at, and we're talking about a wealth shift and a wealth transfer, we're also talking about people that are getting this wealth that they don't think the way that their grandparents thought, which means collecting will be different. So we have to always look at these reports, because when we take a look at these reports and we understand year after year after year how collecting and the habits of collecting, how that's changing, then we're going to stay on track. We're going to be right on track. We're going to be right where we're supposed to be. So that wealth shift will dramatically shape who and how art is collected. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Speak on it. Education is critical to our survival. Totally. Education is totally critical to everything that we're doing. If sideline technology, we have Human Society said, if sideline technology companies could capture value that rightfully belong to human expression. I don't know if I'm understanding what you're saying. If sidelined technology companies could capture value that rightly belong to human, I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. I'd have to ask, what do you mean by that? I need a little bit more context. Anyway, so before we talk about the art market, we have to talk about money. We got to talk about wealth, right? We got to talk about the dollars, because the art market, it is fundamentally driven by wealth. I mean, there are now $60 million millionaires, 60 million, I don't know what I'm trying to, 60 million new millionaires worldwide. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Holding about, like we said, trillions, maybe $200 trillion in wealth, I believe is what I read somewhere. But millionaires represent, even with all of these new millionaires, millionaires represent less than 2% of the global population, but they control most of the wealth. Okay? 2% of the population controlling most of the wealth. So that's a concentration there, right? And that concentration of wealth, it shapes the art market. But what I don't want to do here in understanding these reports is miss out that there are many different art markets. So we could talk about the top of the top art market. We can also talk about the art market that is like your market fairs, your literal market fairs, where people are going and buying $300 artworks, and those fairs do well as well. Like those spaces do well as well. That's a completely different art market that is almost really not accounted for. No one's even doing the research on those markets. Let me be really clear about that. No one's even researching other parts of the art world. They're almost only looking at the top. So yeah, that concentration of wealth is shaping the art market. Okay, so what did the report actually find? Let me look over. Let's look over here. Let's actually take a look at the report. And then somebody tell me, I read somewhere that there was 60 million new millionaires, which sounds like a lot. So somebody correct me in the chat. Let me know in the chat how many new millionaires have been created over the last few years. All right. So then we started looking at the numbers. It might tell us here. So another thing I wanted to do is I want us to know what a HNWI is, because we're going to see that over and over and over and over. HNWI is a high net worth individual. Okay. So, this section actually is about millionaires. So there were 3,100 respondents to this survey, and they were all high net worth individuals. Everyone that responded to this survey, they were all very wealthy. And they're defining those people that have a specific amount of disposable household income. Okay. And they have to have at least $1 million of disposable household income in 2025. And so they're acknowledging that definitions of wealth vary across different studies, but these high net worth individuals represent a sample of the world's millionaires who account for a tiny share of the global population. Again, okay, so less than 2% in 2024, I believe in 2025 as well. But it's large and it's rising. And let's be clear, this is done 3,100 respondents. Okay, so you can get a really clear view from that, but it's not everybody. So they're doing this across a few different places, right? So we have them telling us that the Middle East led growth in 2023. And we also had that the U.S. wealth over 2024 was 12% versus around 3% in China and Southeast Asia. So what are they telling us here? They're comparing world markets. And what do we talk about all the time here? Like the art world, this is some world stuff. This is not whatever country you live in. This is not this is a world, a global market. And that's what we're looking at here. So what is this finding so far? Global art sales have fell 12% in 2024 to $57.5 billion. So if we take a look at that, right? If we take a look at actually, like we talked about, $57.5 billion, and I want to actually compare that to another market. Let's see actually what type of market is entertainment. How much is the entertainment industry worth? Oh, actually, I guess I was wrong. Oh, no, $61.7 billion they expect it to be in 2029. How much is the medical industry worth? Fact checking in real time. Sometimes you just got to fact check yourself. The medical industry, it looks like it's $5.3 trillion in 2024. This is not even in comparison. I just wanted to do that quick comparison so we have an understanding of what this market is in comparison to another market. So global art sales fell 12% in 2024 to $57.5 billion. And again, that decline is happening. Mostly at the top of the market. Okay. So if we look here back to the introduction, we'll see one of the first things that they mention is the art market, the sales fell by 12% in 2024 to $57.5 billion. And with little improvement in the increasingly fractured geopolitical, economic, and social context, early indicators of sales in the first half of the year show no significant signs of change. So 2025, when we got this report, it kind of started off very honest and very kind of like, hey, we're not doing well. Sales have fallen. So we want to keep that in mind when it comes to the market coming soon, right? We want to keep that in mind for what we're going to actually read on Thursday. We know that in 2025, the art market fell 12% to $57.5 billion. Now, what are we going to read on Thursday? Keep this in mind. Keep this number in mind, $57.5 billion. What number are we going to read on Thursday? Public auction results from Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips were down by 7% in the first half of 2025 versus the same period in 2024. So we know that the auction houses were down. We just learned two things. The entire market was down, and then we learned what percentage Christie's, your leading auction houses, Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips, were down to a 7%, down about 7% at the first half of 2025. And a key factor in the decline in sales values within these businesses and the main drag on aggregate growth globally in 2024 has been a slowdown at the top of the market. Over the past 2 years, sales at the highest end of the market thinned significantly. So this first paragraph is letting us know in 2025, we were down. So let's think about that. On Thursday, where are we going to be on Thursday? In the first half of 2025, cross-border trade issues dominated concerns within the art market as they did in many industries. Tariffs. You guys know what was going on last year, right? That had us down. But guess what? I mean, we got to think about the fact that we're in the middle of a lot of global political tension right now. And so I truly wonder when this was wrapped, when they wrapped up writing this report, and then what the report in the middle of the year is going to say compared to what happened at the beginning of this year. Because right now, and just in general, we have been in a lot of political pressure. The world has been in a lot of political pressure. So the same way that tariffs have affected the way that the art market has been able to respond, I wonder what is going to be reported for the 2026. Let me see what you guys are saying. 2027 question mark? I don't know about 2027. We haven't gotten there yet. I love it when you bring this information. Thank you. Thank you. If artists aren't valued or included, technology companies may take over this space and profit from it. Okay, and yeah, and I think you're going kind of back to like an AI conversation. Technology, AI is going to take over everything, but that's not the conversation for this channel, you know. But AI is going to take over everything. I mean, I don't know where you live, but even if you look at the rideshare industry, there's Waymos all over the place. Anyway, so when you start going through this entire, we definitely don't have time to get through this entire thing. But when you really start looking at it, and I have my own notes about this, and I really encourage you guys to take a look at this. You can go to artbasel.com and you can find this. But when you really start looking at what happened in the art market and what they reported in this, you realize that lower price works were still selling. You realize that transaction numbers are increasingly higher in specific segments. You realize that we were not actually collapsing. We were just seeing a rebalancing of the market. And that's something that we've talked about over and over here, right? Like we were just seeing certain parts of the market contract while other parts of the market grew. And if you are a gallerist or a collector or a dealer that took advantage of that, I mean, power to you. But I want to take 1 second. If y'all can give me 1 second, I do want to take 1 second to say that Gloryland 2026 is on the calendar. You guys see it at the bottom of the screen. The kind of conversation we're having right now about the market at Gloryland, we're able to take folks that are way smarter than me, that have a completely different perspective than I do, and put them in conversation together to have conversations like this about the future of the market, about their experiences, about what they believe is coming, what has happened in the past that has shaped the future, things that give you guys context that you can't just get from me. And that's why Gloryland is so important, because we talk about education. Gloryland is all about education. And so the structure of Gloryland will be tours, education, and art. So on one of the days, we will go on tours of the Houston Manil. You guys look up the Manil. It is one of the most beautiful museums in the entire country. We will go on a tour of Untitled Art Houston, and we will go on a tour of a private art collector's home. Why is that so important as we're talking about collectors and how collectors are engaging with art? Well, going into the home of a collector and having them share their story with you guys about how they've built their collection and why they've built their collection, what has mattered to them as they've built their collection, even the financial aspects of building their collection is one of the most important things we could have proximity to. Listening to panels and conversations and roundtables, one of the most important things that we can have proximity to. There's so many conversations that we don't hear that happen privately in the art world. And at Gloryland, what I do and what me and my team do is we bring together some of the smartest minds, put them in conversation together, and they give information freely to you guys. And I would love to have you guys there, okay? Gloryland this year is going to be in Houston alongside as Untitled Art Houston. Untitled Art Houston will be the fair that's happening during Gloryland. And you guys will come, listen to panels, listen to roundtables, listen to fireside chats, and just get information. Last year, people were so excited about what they left Gloryland with because they have proximity to gallerists, to collectors, et cetera, that they would have never had that close, that intimate proximity to. So listen, there is a QR code on the screen right now that says join the interest list. When you join the Gloryland interest list, you're going to get everything early. You're going to get early bird tickets, which means your ticket is going to be a lot cheaper. You're going to get early bird merch, so you're going to be able to get merch at a lot cheaper price. Gloryland, look, it's the place to be. I'll be moderating many conversations, but just all in all, it's something that I wish I had. And that's why we build the things that we build, right? It's something that I wish I had. I wish I had access to the level of education and to the people that I've brought to Gloryland. If I would have had that access, I would have been able to skip over 500 steps, 500 mistakes that I made. So make sure you guys put Gloryland on your calendar. It's Dear Glory in person. It's where we have the conversations that we have here in person. So go ahead and put Gloryland on your calendar. Hopefully when we leave here, I have many of you guys have joined the interest list and that you guys are planning on coming to Houston October 2nd through October 4th. So anyway, thank y'all for listening to my little spiel about Gloryland. Can't wait to see y'all there. Make sure the QR code is going to stay on the screen. So just, do that as you please. Anyway, so we seen in the report that the survey reported that 3,100 at the top here, that 3,100 high net worth collectors across 10 global markets were asked questions, that they had this survey. And one of the most interesting findings is that collectors allocate a surprisingly large share of their wealth to art. Now, we could go back to what my guy said, or my girl, I don't know who you were, said about art laundering, maybe, right? I mean, but on average, collectors allocate about 20% of their wealth to art collections, and their advisors are telling them to do that. For the ultra wealthy, collectors with over $50 million, and that number rises over and over and over again. It rose, I believe, to 39 or 38%, or maybe 29%, something like that. So for a lot of collectors, art isn't just something that you're putting on a wall. Art is not something that you're just decorating your home with. For a lot of them, it's a serious asset class. Now, I hear, art is always an asset. Let me just say that. It can be an emotional asset, or it can be a financial asset. But art is many times, especially at the rate in which these folks, the wealthy folks that I'm talking about right now, art is a serious asset class. And they treat it as such. They treat it as such so much that 20% of their wealth is going towards collecting art. 20% of your wealth, that's a lot. Inheritance is also playing a huge role in collecting. So you have 84% of collectors inheriting artworks, which make up nearly 30% of the works that they own. So a lot of this is also inheritance. And I know what you might be hearing. Okay, so these wealthy people, these rich people, they just passing down wealth. And that is what's happening. And that's what also this report is continuing to find. And, So we can do with that information what we want. And I think that's the point, for us to do with this information as we please. You have about 70% of collectors, or I believe 70% of collectors, that are planning to donate works to museums or charities. Now we get to talking about the tax. If you have all of these folks donating works to museums, okay, and that's part of their plan. Some of them are donating to museums. Some of them are passing it down. But all we know is inheritance is important for collectors. High net worth individuals surveyed having inherited works accounted to 30%, here's the numbers, of the works that they own. Almost 90% of Gen Z collectors who inherited works kept them, underlying the importance of family traditions in building collections. Overall, around 80% plan to pass their collections to their children or partners in the future, and 70% help to donate works to museums or charities. That's how you keep money in your family. It's one of the ways. How you keep money in your families, through inheritance, passing it down. How else do you keep money in your family? You donate it to the museums. You write it off. It's all, I don't want to say it's all a money play. But here's the thing. Things are tools. Art, all assets should be a tool. Money is a tool. You use money as a tool to buy other tools. And if you happen to love that tool, then that's a win. Right? And I know sometimes it's hard, and we talked about this on the last video. If you are uncomfortable with the word capital and the word art sitting next to one another, then we have to have another conversation, because it is a tool, it is an asset, and it is a part of capital. Keeping the art and not selling, you don't pay taxes. Art is a portable wealth. Auction houses have lots of shill bidding. I'm just reading the comments here. Anyway, so about 70% of collectors plan to donate works to museums and charities. So collecting is, it's about taxes, but it's also about, it's also about building your legacy and keeping the legacy in the family. One of the most fascinating parts, I'll say, of this report is motivation. And they kind of go into and try to motivate folks on why do collectors buy art. The number one answer that we found in this report in 2025 was financial investment. So I want to go ahead and find that. I want to find that in the report. Let me see. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, here we go. Motivations for collecting. Okay. So if we look at here, and this is really important, guys, like especially if you're an artist, for you guys to kind of pinpoint what some motivations for collecting are. Financial investment being one. Okay. Including the expectations of financial return on investment are balancing risk in an overall portfolio of wealth. But it only accounted for 24% of the responses. You got other motivations that were personal pleasure, identity, social relationships, supporting artists, and philanthropy. Write this down if you're an artist. If you are an artist, here are the motivations for collecting. Okay? Financial investment, personal pleasure, identity, social relationships. You hear me? Supporting artists, and philanthropy. And philanthropic motivations increased significant in this particular survey. But write that down. I'm going to tell you again. It's important for you to know your audience. You always, of course, as an artist, you want to do what you love. And I always encourage, do what you love, do what you love, do what you love. And I'm going to always encourage, don't lose the love in what you do just by knowing the research. Don't let the research keep you from doing what you love. Don't let understanding why people buy art sway in the way that you create. If you keep love for it and what you're doing and the love for it and being, let's see, something I said yesterday, you have to be inquisitive. You have to be curious about your own practice. And when you dig and research into yourself, into your own reasons, into your own practice, then your work is going to identify with someone else. You are going to enter into social relationships with collectors because you're investigating that something that they are interested in your art. When you're doing what you love and you create beautiful work that has great context and that has rigor and that has depth, someone's going to want to support you. Okay? How do you also align yourself with philanthropic things? Like, what about your art is larger than you and enters into the conversations of the world? That's how you enter into someone wants to be philanthropic. So you want to look at these things as an artist and sometimes understanding why they collect, of course, keeping your practice forward, but understanding that people are wanting to identify, collectors are wanting to identify themselves with something. They want to have social relationships. So when you keep asking yourself, why does this collector want to go to dinner? Why does collector want me to come over to their home? They're wanting social relationships out of this. And that is in this report. So that's one of the most important things that we can understand and know about how collectors are behaving. This entire report is about collector behavior. The entire report. So this means collectors increasingly are seeing themselves as cultural stewards. And that's why they want the relationships. They want to be a part of the story because they feel like they are the protectors of culture. Without them, the stories cannot be visually told. Without them, culture is not preserved. That's the importance that they place on themselves. And it's really some of the importance that they hold because they are the folks that's funding this industry in a way. So, keep those things really, really, really forward. I have Rob G that says, put the art in a trust and pass the trust on, no tax. Great, great, great advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I believe that is great advice. But hear me when I say that, okay? So anyway, I want to take just one more moment because if you guys, if you are an artist and you're watching this and you're realizing that nobody has ever really explained the art market like this before, or no one's talked to you guys about the art market and how to behave in the art market and how to look at collectors and say, this is what they're interested in. That's a lot of artists. And that's why I built the Glory Collective on Patreon. And inside that community, we're going to focus on things like how to talk about your work, how to position your practice, how to build relationships with collectors. There are over 100 resources already in that library. And we have 3 different tiers. Starting Glory gives you access to the library. You can go through that library yourself and go on a self-guided journey. You also have Building Glory. That's my favorite tier. Building Glory includes weekly Glory Lab strategy sessions. Every single Thursday, a group of artists come together and we talk about a particular strategy. Last week, we talked about Instagram strategy, how to show up on Instagram, how to make Instagram work for you as an artist. And we talk for about an hour. I answer questions in real time and it's Zoom. So we're voice to voice, face to face. I'm answering questions in real time, giving the strategies that I have seen work in real time. And also what this group has access to is Monday morning office hours. Every single Monday at 9:30 CST, 9:30 a.m., I have a group of people in my virtual waiting room waiting to come to office hours. And when they come in there with a question, something they've been thinking about, something they need really quick advice or guidance on, and we talk through that together. And I have folks that come every single Monday morning. And I get to know them. I get to know their practice. It's a really good space. And they get answers from me on what is pressing and what they have questions on. So if you join Building Glory, you get 2 touch points. You get that, actually 3. You get that full library of resources that you can use at your own disposal. And it's a growing library. So every single week, something is added to it. On Mondays, you can come to my Monday morning office hours. On Thursdays, you can come in with a group of other artists and we learn a strategy together. It's really important. If you're one of those people that say, I want one-on-one support and I want to be able to talk to you for an entire hour one-on-one and we really dig into building my career, just me and you, then that's Mastering Glory. So the link is on the screen. The link is on the screen so you guys can go ahead and click this link or scan the QR code. The link is actually in the chat, but the QR code is on the screen. So you can scan that QR code, sign up. You get 7 days for free. So you could just test it out, see if it's something you like. And if you want to convert to actually being month to month to month, then we can do that. It's one of the most special places. I'm so blessed to even be able to be a steward of that. So anyway, if you're serious about building your career for real, and you serious, and you're not just in here trying to just watch these videos, you're trying to put some things to practice, join the Patreon with a group of other artists. All right. Anyway, so what is all of this entire thing, all of these numbers that I want you to go and look at? All of these numbers, what do these numbers actually mean for art advisors, for artists, for dealers, for auction houses, for critics, for folks that are collecting, for social media, for curators? What does all of this mean? This art market, the art market is not going nowhere. It's not disappearing. It's becoming more selective, okay? And what you guys will find is that something that we've talked about over and over and over in this community is that what you'll find is collectors are becoming more decisive. They're becoming more educated, more decisive, more inquisitive. They understand what questions to ask, and that's on every single level. Now, again, I'm going to say this report does not cover the entire art world. There are many different levels of the art world, but the main thing is collectors are doing more research. They're thinking more long-term. They're thinking more about building legacy collections. And that means that artists need to understand something very, very important, that success in the art world is not just about making good work. Okay? Success in the art world is not just about making good work. It's about context. It's about rigor in your practice. It's about relationships. It's about positioning. Something I talked about in the last 3 videos. If you guys follow me on social media, you've seen that post that I did about not being ready. And so many artists were incredibly upset about the fact that I said that artists are not ready, right? And that's not what I'm saying is artists aren't ready to have context. Artists are not ready to have relationships. Artists are not ready to position yourself. There was one young lady in that comment section. I'm not sure who she was. Much respect to her for engaging. But she talked about positioning as if it were pick me. If you're in the comment section, who seen that video that I did? She talked about pick me energy. And actually that was kind of the consensus of many people that commented on this particular video that I posted about not being ready. And I think the wrong message was taken from that video. In no way was I telling an artist to be a pick me and to say be a pick me to collectors, to galleries. In the same way that galleries, look, this entire report is done so we can study collectors, right? So we have to understand that we have to be students of one another. We have to be students of the behavior of one another to understand how to position ourselves in the right way. And I can guarantee you galleries read these reports and some of them might take it with a grain of salt, but these numbers and these numbers that Clara McAndrew, that she comes up with, that UBS, that Art Basel, that they come up with, that they sit down and they come up with, they're studying the behavior of collectors, of galleries, of dealers, of curators, of artists. They're studying the behavior of folks, and then they give us this report, and then people shape their strategy based off of some of these numbers. So there's no way that I'm telling an artist to be a pick-me ever. I'm telling you to be ready to position yourself for the relationships that you want. The same way that others will look at this report, study it, and use these studies to position themselves. Not pick me is crazy. This isn't kindergarten. This isn't high school. We're not talking about pick me for a man that you're trying to get his attention or a woman that you're trying to get his attention. Pick me is crazy. We're talking about positioning yourself for the relationships you want, for the career that you want. That's strategy, baby. That's what that is. And I want us to know that because it was way too many artists that was upset about that when it's all about positioning. It's all about positioning. Okay, we got some comments. Let's promote this in an interview for our Substack. Our community would love this. We'll email you soon. All right, cool. That's good. That's good. I'll be looking forward to that email. We got to get you on this channel. We keep saying it. Everyone, if you don't know Art Meets Culture, go follow Art Meets Culture on Instagram. They do amazing things on keeping us up to date on what's going on in the art world, in the art market. Amazing content and amazing platform to keep up with and to follow. Art Meets Culture, if you could just, maybe drop a link for people to follow your Substack. Drop a link in the chat for people to follow your Substack so folks can keep up with you. Art Meets Culture, amazing content to follow. So anyway, guys, look, if you learn something on this live, there's no way I have time to go through this entire report, but just know, look at all these numbers. We can take a look at so many of these numbers. I'm not going to get all the numbers right off of the top of my head. I've read this a few times. So some of the numbers I just know, some of the numbers I have to go back and look at. But one of the things I want you guys to take away is to know who's telling us what to think. Know what they're telling us to think about. And also know that this isn't the only report. If you go to arttactic.com, those are some of the folks that give us reports on artists. I don't know if I can show what they have because you have to pay for that. So I don't want them to copyright my content. So I don't want to bring it up, but they reduce everything to numbers. You guys will be very surprised how many people are out there taking the art world and making it data. And there's not much public data. And there's not much data compared to other fields and other industries. But there is data available. If you're a data-driven person and you like to look at charts and numbers and it just makes you just love it so much, because I actually do. I didn't know this about myself, but I love looking at charts. I love looking at numbers. There are entryways into you guys understanding the data of this space. I got something. Shout out to my friend Malcolm Peacock, who debuted work in the Whitney Biennial. Also, any other POC, people of color, Black folk. That's amazing. That's amazing, man. That's with Malcolm Peacock. We're gonna have to look at Malcolm Peacock. We always spend a little bit of time looking at artists. I don't think I have time today. So anyone that doesn't know who Malcolm Peacock is, go ahead and look at Malcolm Peacock. Do some research on Malcolm Peacock. If Malcolm is in the Whitney Biennial, that means Malcolm is probably one of the most important artists, what they perceive to be one of the most important artists of this year, of our time. So thank you for shouting out Michael Peacock. And of course, we're gonna always give you love. We love those who are adding to this, to this narrative. And make sure you guys like the video. If you haven't liked the video yet, if this video did anything for you, I hope it did, right? But if you learned anything new, if this did anything to broaden your perspective, like the video. When you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel, it does so much for the algorithm, and it brings other people into this community that may not have been in this community. We still don't have that many people joining our live sessions yet. And I'm going to just keep going the same way that you have to build any other thing. You have to build your foundational, the folks that are going to be a part of your live and watch your live in real time. So and encourage your friends and your folks that are interested in conversations like this to come and join the live. Don't forget that about Patreon, and make sure you guys grab that link on the screen, but also keep in mind that Gloryland is coming. Keep in mind that Gloryland is coming. And also, one of the most important things y'all can look at in this report is buying channels. Okay, we didn't get a chance to really talk about it today, but 60% bought an artwork at a gallery. 54% bought directly via a website. Okay, 50% had made a purchase via either an email or a phone call. 51% had bought via Instagram without viewing the work in person. I don't need to convince you guys of anything. If the most wealthy people in the world, because that's what this report is about, right? So don't forget that this report is about the high net worth individual. This is how the high net worth individual is buying. 51% of their responders are buying on Instagram without viewing the work in person. And a lot of galleries and a lot of artists don't have an Instagram strategy. But 51% of the people that they surveyed, who are the wealthiest people purchasing art, are buying art via Instagram. We'll see how that changed this year. But don't forget that. You know, that's why this is important for artists even to read. Because then you stop feeling like Instagram is a waste. And you start putting a little bit more energy into your Instagram, because 51% of the richest collectors in the world that they surveyed are buying it on Instagram without seeing it in person. That's huge. Make sure you have a website. 54% are buying on a website. 60% are, and that goes back to strategies, right? That goes back to how do you create, and this is making my, you know, even though I've been here before and I've read this before, this is a reminder to me, which is why we have to revisit things as I'm building out these strategies with my Patreon members. Listen to what I'm saying. Join the Patreon, because I'm building out strategies, actively thinking in real time about what is the best strategy to create for the Patreon members to go forward with in their career. And as I'm thinking about, let me put that back on the screen because y'all need to join that Patreon. I'm not kidding. Join the Patreon. 60, when I think about this section that I'm highlighting right now, that's how you build out your strategy. So if you are an artist you have gallery representation, well, just because you have gallery representation doesn't mean you don't need to have a website, because 54% buying directly on a website. Just because you have a website don't mean you don't need to hop on the phone or send an email or have an email marketing strategy. You got to have an email marketing strategy because 50% are buying via email. Just because you have an email strategy in a gallery and a website doesn't mean you need to neglect your Instagram, because 51% are buying on Instagram without even seeing the work. That's a layered strategy. You have to be doing all of these things. And I don't say that to overwhelm anyone. It's just take a look at the numbers. Those are the numbers. I didn't find these numbers. What's her name found the numbers? I forgot her name. I forgot her name already. Noah and Sarah. What's her name? Claire found these numbers. And she's supposed to be one of the most important economists in the art world, right? And so these are things that we have to look at. I lost what we were looking at, but just, you know, you have to keep those numbers in mind. These reports are giving us so much information. This year, we're going to find, you know, this probably is going to be a little bit different. Inheritance, gender, and collecting. Like, this is going into who's collecting. It's talking about Gen Z. It's going to talk about who's collecting more, women or men, right? And so, you know, you just start thinking about your strategies. This helps you create a strategy. If you, this is a complete Bible on how people are buying art. If you are an artist or a gallery or a dealer, you're absolutely taking this into consideration. And things don't change that quickly year over year. So if you're a year behind, you know, it might be 10% less are buying on Instagram, but it's not 100% less. It's not the whole thing. And they're talking about here, female collectors in the family context. If you've been paying attention to the news lately, I mean, it's Women's History Month, so you know, that's been talked about a lot now, but women are buying increasingly more than men right now. So that wife that used to go home and say, let me talk to my husband, maybe she's not doing that. What do we have happening in the chat? Screenshot moment. I hope you did screenshot it. Let me see if I can go back up to the platforms. I tell you what, after a few days of this being live, if I don't have folks in the Patreon, if I don't have folks that have joined that Gloryland list, y'all don't want it. Let me see. Let's go back to that platform. Because if it's anything I want y'all to take away from this, that's one of the things. I can't find it, guys. But look, if you don't have this, all you got to do, I'm going to put this in the chat, okay? So y'all can go and look at this yourself. Let's see if I can copy it here and then paste it on my phone. I don't think I can do that. And I can't look at the chat. So somebody do me a favor. Maybe I could do it here. Nope, I can't do it. I'm putting all type of other stuff on the screen. You see this? Look at that. That's because I really want y'all to join my interest list. Look, anyway, I won't be here much longer here on the chat, here on this live, but I do encourage y'all to go look at this. And next Tuesday, I encourage y'all to join the live because we'll be talking about the report that comes out this Thursday. So this right here talks about high net worth individuals in galleries. 35% prefer buying from a visit to the gallery. 26% prefer buying via a website. These are more numbers supporting that you need to have a website and Instagram and all that. 21% buying by email or phone. 26% website, 18% Instagram. All these numbers are telling you how people want to collect. This is telling you event attendance. These numbers are all about event attendance. Are people actually going to events? This tells you everything you need to know as an artist. I hope you guys can agree. Like, are people going to go to your events? Are people going to buy your work off of Instagram? Are they going to buy your work off of your website? Does emailing them work? Everything. Buying and selling plans for 2025 and 2026. Let's see what they say here. Despite ongoing uncertainty last year in the global economic and political spheres, same thing this year, when asked about their plans for collecting over the next 12 months, 40% of high net worth individuals plan to buy more artworks, but that's down from 43% in prior survey and from 54% in 2023. So let's keep that in mind. It's down. It was down in 2025. Let's see if it's up. I'm going to think it's up. I'm going to predict it's up. Brazil had the highest share of high net worth individuals planning to buy works in the coming year. You guys can do it. You know, you can do you can market. You can run a marketing campaign on Facebook, on Instagram, and you can target Brazil. You can do that. That's the thing. With high shares also found in the major market of the US and the UK. The lowest shares were in Switzerland, Germany, and France. A higher share of men plan to buy than women. Boomers and Gen Z were above millennials and Gen X. So that's where we start to have the problem of collector development. Around 1/4, 25% of responders plan to sell works in the next 12 months, roughly on par for both men and women. This was down from a high of 55% in 2024, reverting to levels similar to those reported in 2023. Look, if I haven't convinced you to go read this report, and also they probably need to pay me because I'm telling y'all to go read this. Where can you get the report? You go to artmarket.artbasel.com. When it comes out, when this report comes out on Thursday, you go to artmarket.artbasel.com and you get the new one. You can still download the old one. You can 100% still download the old one. Let me just check and see if I could just put this. I'm going to put the link in the comments because I do want to encourage y'all to go and I do want to encourage you guys to go and read this report. So I'm going to see, let's see. Let me go here to this live. Let's see if I can interact in the chat. Okay, here's the link. There's the link right there. I just put the link in the chat. The link is in the chat for you guys to go ahead and read this yourself. I just gave you guys the link. Remember, the new one comes out on Thursday. So read this one now so you can compare it to Thursday. Okay. All right, that's all I have. Anybody have any questions for me before I go? We don't have time to talk about any artists today. I live in Texas. It's the rodeo. We're taking our daughter to the rodeo. If y'all know what the rodeo is, we're going to take her to go look at some animals. So I got to get out of here. And that's the end. It's 200 pages. No way I could go through the entire thing. But I do encourage you guys to go through the entire thing. If you're still here, if you are still here, make sure you guys have liked the video. Make sure you guys have liked the video. Let me see how many likes. Let me see how many likes we have so far. Because honestly, if y'all are still here, y'all should be liking the video. We don't have enough. Please, guys. I thank you. I see it going up as we speak. I was going to say I'm not going to leave until I get all your likes, but I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. Like the video. It does a lot for the algorithm if this has done anything for you. I appreciate you guys so much. My birthday was great. Thank you so much for asking. My birthday was amazing. You know, I was thinking about it. It was one of the first birthdays that I just, in my previous years, of course, there would be times where my friends are like, take a shot, take a shot. Like, it's your birthday. I just didn't do that this year. I just wanted to get home. I wanted to spend time with my family, with my daughter and with my husband. And that was my priority, to do that and to not do it drunk. So I had a really great birthday. It was just nice. Went to LA this weekend or whenever that was, spoke at the Art Melanated conference. And I have a video that I'm editing right now so you guys know what LA Art Week was like, what the Art Melanated experience was like. Had a chance to sit with Anwari Musa, Tanya Wiedemeyer, and Terrell Tilford, and that was really, really great. So I'll be letting you guys know about that. So I appreciate y'all for being here and, you know, just for rocking with me all this time. And hopefully I see you guys on Thursday in the Patreon. And hopefully I see you guys. I know I asked y'all for a lot. I'm asking y'all to like the video, subscribe, sign up for the Gloryland interest list, sign up for the Patreon, all of these things, right? And those are the things that drive this channel, right? Like, we're about building community. And I'm always going to give my gratitude to you guys. Gloryland is how we show up and we know who each other are in person. And we hear the advice and the thoughts and just the wisdom from people who have had and found success in this industry come together and give it to you guys at Gloryland. So that's why it's important for me to tell you guys. It was important to create something like that where we can get offline and get in person and say hello to one another and talk to one another and listen and get advice and get wisdom for those who have really found an incredible amount of success. That's why Gloryland is important. Patreon is important because I want to see y'all be successful. That's it. And that's all it is I find I am creating a space where we can be and have really great relationships with one another. And those relationships don't stop at, hey, how you doing? Those relationships lead to success for all of us. And that is the point of the Gloryland, that is the point of the Patreon, is so that we find success in this journey that we are clearly on. Because if we weren't on this journey, we wouldn't even be listening to this live. And so we are all on a similar journey. My journey is I am constantly investigating how success is happening in the art world. And then as I get those answers through my investigation, my job is to give that to you. And so your success is my success. That's how I truly feel. So let's go on this journey together. Gloryland, Patreon, y'all all are already here on the live. Like and get is just as much support. But if you want to feed into your own career, Gloryland, Patreon. Anyway, love you guys. I will talk to y'all next time. Share this live with anyone that I got someone that's saying it's 1,000% worth it. I don't know if he's talking about Gloryland or Patreon, but one or the other, right? 1,000% worth it. So listen to Pro Day Trader. Anyway, guys, I love y'all and I appreciate y'all more than you know. And I will see y'all on the next live next Tuesday. Also, there's a video dropping Thursday about LA Art Week. LA Art, Freeze LA, Art Melanated, Butter, all of that. We're talking about all of that. So I'll talk to y'all next time.